Morning, folks. Welcome to Monday's edition of Fireside Chats at Lake Superior Art Glass. Today we're going to be making some swizzle sticks. These are something I've made for quite some time, and figured to give you guys a little glimpse into what goes into them. They're pretty straightforward, but there is one really cool design feature that I do with them as well, which is why I thought they would make a good demonstration. Let's see here. Just a reminder to everyone, our local artist support fundraiser is still going on. So every local image pendant that you guys purchase from our website, $5 of that each purchase gets donated to the Artist Relief Fund for Minnesota. So another great way to give back and support multiple artists with one purchase. You can always submit requests for design your own pendants. That is still ongoing. So if you've got ideas for a custom pendant you've been thinking about, shoot them our way and we'll let you know if it's doable. We'll do it even live on our stream so you can watch it being made. And let's see, third thing, the sale items, clearance section is still deeply discounted. There's some awesome deals on there still. And our icicle and suncatcher earrings are on sale, 30% off right now. So great opportunities to get some sweet deals, support other artists as well. And we just keep continuing to work away here and make stuff. We've got a whole list of orders that I'm still chipping away at and trying to make inventory. So we appreciate all your support, and thanks for supporting small businesses. So let's get started with some swizzle sticks here. I brought an example over. This is our Leaf Swizzle Stick. Pretty straightforward. I didn't have an example of the one that I'm going to do today. It'll be a leaf shape, but it's going to have some white accents in the leaf. And it's a really cool design. It's actually one of my apprentice's ideas from, probably 6-7 years ago, I think. And it's just a really cool design option that kind of gives them a little bit more pizzazz. So I'll be putting some white accents essentially and then making a swizzle stick like this. So I've already gone ahead and cut the 8mm rod to the length. We're really particular about the length we cut our rods and our tubes to for products like this because the tubes come in either 4 or 5 foot long lengths, same as the rods. So to minimize waste, we'll determine what length we're going to make our products by how many pieces we can get out of that tube or rod. We don't want to leave a 4-inch section of waste glass off of each piece that we cut down. So that is how we determine the length of these. It also has to do with function. Of course, we're not going to make a swizzle stick that's only 4 inches tall. That's how we determine how long to cut these. So we really try to minimize any waste that we have. So I've got a few different colors I'm going to do today. I've got our amber, pink, and teal. So I'll make one of each of those so you guys get to see me do it a few times. And I've got my white glass. This white glass is a collector's item, something like that. It's a version of this white that is no longer produced, and I was lucky enough to buy a whole case of it 5 years ago or something like that, and then they stopped making it, and it's amazing. They've come out with some whites that are really, really close, this stuff's kind of like a unicorn. So I use it very sparingly, but it's just great for this kind of application. So that's what I'll be using for color today. We'll go ahead and fire up and show you how it's done. If you haven't seen my demos before, my glasses are special glass blowing glasses. They are Oakley's, but they've been custom fitted with these unique glass blowing lenses. And the lenses actually filter out that orange flame that you guys are seeing right now. It's called a sodium flare. It's basically sodium burning off of the glass when it's being hit by the flame. And my glasses filter that out. So I don't see any of that orange that you guys see. All I see is the blue flame before it touches the glass. And then everything beyond that's just kind of like a light yellowish peach color. It's not that really bright orange that you guys see. We'll make sure our white balance is good here. All right, I guess that's going to be as good as we get it. So I'm using the amber glass right now, and I've got my piece of 8mm clear glass. We're going to join those two together. So try to get the clear glass just hot enough that it will flow with the colored glass, but I don't want to get it too hot, otherwise I'll end up with clear from the rod in my leaf, and that won't look super great. So a little pointer there for any glass blowers watching, that you definitely want to minimize how much of the clear glass you're getting hot. So I left a nice little dollop on here. I'll show you in a second once I get it melted in and rounded out. It's about the diameter of a dime. Just like that. And so now I'm going to take the white glass and wrap it around my dollop of color. This is called a wrapping technique. It often goes hand in hand with raking or feathering. We call it a wrap and rake. Again, that's that very traditional artistic decoration style, kind of like latte art is the closest thing that we kind of see to it today. And I don't know if you guys can see that, but I'm wrapping a hair thin strand of glass around that glob. It's not crazy hard, but it takes a little practice to get the timing and the heats right. You got to have your white glass hot enough that it'll pull off as a string, but not so hot that it drips or globs or disconnects from the glob you're wrapping it around. And also not too cold that it stiffens up. You know, you have a very small window with a piece of glass that thin to maintain its flexibility while it's hot, because it'll cool so quickly that if you get your timing off, that wrap, that thin piece of glass will get so hard that it doesn't wrap around the glob. So again, it's not a crazy hard technique, but it does take a little practice. So now we're going to go ahead and squish this in my leaf mashers. I'll show you guys these a little closer in a second here. Okay, so now I've got a leaf shape, and then I just stretch it out a little bit. I want to get a nice point to the leaf to give it some kind of shape, but I also don't want to make it fragile. We don't want that too pointed, because this is a functional item. We want to make sure that it's going to be durable as well. All right, so there it is. So it's looking a little bit more yellow right now, and that's the thing about this amber glass, is that when it's hot, it glows more yellow, and then as it cools, it turns more amber. You can see it getting darker right now. So yeah, we're gonna stick that in the kiln, and I'll do another one. The kiln sits at a little over 1,000 degrees. That's a stable temperature for Pyrex or borosilicate glass to hold at. And then tonight when I'm done working, I'll run a program that'll cool it over about 10 to 12 hours. So here are those leaf mashers. Pair of pliers. You've seen me use them in a couple other demos, I think, as well. And they've got a kind of a groove welded on the ends. And one side has grooves within that little plate to create the veins of the leaf. So that's that crazy specialized tool we use to make anything with a leaf on it. So I use those for the leaves on my roses, and also to crimp the petals on my roses. All right, so I got another piece of 8mm clear glass here. These are about, I want to say 8 inches long or so. 8.5 is what we cut them to. I've got a new piece of pink glass here, and I always try to remove any end of glass that's been cut. If this had been melted last, kind of like the amber one had been, I could just go ahead and keep working it. I'll see if I can even show you guys here, but when you have a cut end, it leaves bubbles. It's almost like scratches in the glass will turn to bubbles. So, as it cools, you guys might be able to see a little bit of speckling in there. It's pretty hard to see. But there's little micro bubbles there that, you know, if you look closely in the finished product, you would see it, especially on a transparent color like this. So I removed the end of the glass rod to get rid of that. These are a tungsten tweezer. They're one of my favorite tools. The first professional level class I ever took was in 2008 from John Kabuki, who is world renowned for his flowers in marbles and glass. And he recommended that tool, and I think I got mine in 2010 maybe, or maybe 2009, whenever I went to the Bead and Button show in Milwaukee. And that tool is one that I use every single day in pretty much every project I make. So that was a great recommendation. The reason that they're tungsten and why that's so important is so that you can grab the hot glass without the glass heating up the metal to the point where it wants to stick to it. Now it still will happen with tungsten, but not nearly as easily as it does with steel. So regular steel tweezers, they heat up pretty quickly and will stick to the glass after 1 or 2 times of grabbing something hot with them. And so the tungsten is a little bit less prone to doing that, and if it does stick to the tungsten, as it cools, it'll kind of break off, whereas hot glass stuck to steel does not like to release very easily. Alright, so I've got my dollop of pink glass here. I've just about got it rounded out and symmetrical. Doesn't have to be perfectly symmetrical. I'm going to melt it in more anyway once I get the white wrapped on there. So watch closely when I do this white wrap. It goes pretty quick, but I'll have the glob right beneath the flame, and I'll be trailing a string of glass from the white rod down onto this glob. You see all those little white lines on there? I'll get those melted in. I hope you guys can see that. I can't quite tell because I've got to watch what I'm doing, so I can't see if my hands are blocking it in the frame when I'm doing it. I'll try to glance before the last one and just make sure that you guys can actually see that step and that my hand isn't blocking it. Alright, so we got that nice and hot, melted all in. Really important anytime you're using the leaf mashers is that you want to go vertical with everything. If you hold things at an angle and go to squish it, things are going to get off center. So when I go to squish, you got to hold it straight upside down, rest it in that V, give it a good quick squeeze, and then let go. You don't ever want to squeeze for too long because you're robbing a ton of heat from that glass. You're thinning it out, and it's touching a cold metal tool. And if you leave it in that tool for longer than, I would say, 3 or 4 seconds, you'll start to crack the glass. So about 1 second is a good length of time to do that for. So we'll stick the punty on to stretch out the tip. Give it a little stretch. when I'm heating the leaf to get it stretched, I'm also doing something else. I'm polishing the leaf. So the tweezers tend to leave little wrinkles, or not the tweezers, the mashers tend to leave little wrinkles on the surface of the glass, because as soon as that hot glass touches the steel tool, it starts cooling immediately. And so, but the glass underneath that is still hot enough to move. And so you get these little wrinkles, they're almost like stretch marks, where the surface glass doesn't really want to move as much as the glass underneath it does. And so that's why you always want to polish anything like that you've touched with a cold tool, whether it's steel or graphite or anything like that. So there's a pink Leaf Swizzle Stick. So I really like these white accents. They're just a fun extra design feature that kind of makes them more funky. Just a little bit more going on there than just a plain pink leaf. Now I have to be careful polishing the side that has the veins, because if I get that side too hot, I'll melt all those veins out. So gotta watch that. All right, that's gonna go in the kiln, and I'll show you guys one more here. All right, same thing here with this teal one. It's got a cut end, so I'm going to remove that. A lot of times people ask me how often I get burned, and the answer is very infrequently. You know, it's a couple times a year usually is kind of par for the course. But I tend to get cut much more often than I get burned. I would say I get cut almost once a week from a sharp piece of glass, and I get burned, you know, maybe twice a year. So, what's up, AJ? This is one of the projects that my apprentices do. AJ is my apprentice right now, and so he's tuning in and checking this demo out as well. It's a good opportunity to watch that wrapping technique. Another thing that's good to point out too with the spinning of my hands is that it's all muscle memory, and it's really a feel. So I see a lot of beginners get hyper focused on like watching the glass and watching what it's doing when they're spinning it and trying to force things to get on center, or you know, they're really forcing or overthinking their spin. And it really needs to become something that's just second nature. And so when you see me switch directions with my hands for a second, that I do that when I feel that the glass is a little bit off center. So it's not like a 1, 2, 3 switch kind of, you know, repetition or anything like that. It's when I can feel in my hands and my fingertips that something is off center. And so that's when I switch directions. It kind of helps throw the glass back on. So I guess the point I'm trying to make is that it's really easy to overthink your spinning, and it's a very crucial part, don't get me wrong, but I think in overthinking it, that you don't necessarily develop the second nature or that sixth sense as quickly, because you're hyper focusing on that spin. It's more just one of those things you got to do over and over and over, and you know, through repetition, you'll start to feel when to switch directions and how to get things on center. So here's that wrapping technique. Let's see here. Yeah, you should be able to see it like that. All right. Make a really small contact point. That's a really easy spot to get a big glob. And so I had a little bit cooler white glass that time, so I got a much bigger string. So this one's going to have fewer lines, but they'll be wider and more dramatic. So each one ends up totally unique. taking a little longer to melt this one in just because those lines were of white were a little thicker. There we go. We're all melted in, nice and symmetrical. I'll hold it straight upside down, kind of let it hang and center itself. Center it in the V, squish, and let go. Just like that. Now we'll kind of heat it up, polishing mainly the back side, but hitting the side with the veins a little bit too. As we heat up our punty as well. And I like to keep my punty pretty cool and the leaf pretty hot, so that when I stick it on there, I kind of squish it, and then I stretch it back out. So I get a good connection on there by squishing, and then I pull that glass back out. Get more of that pointed taper. It looks really pretty. All right, then we'll melt off the punty. Melt in that point just a little bit, so it's not super sharp. If it's too thin and sharp, that'll make for a really weak point of the glass. And again, this is a functional item, so we want to make sure it's as durable as possible. So on that one you can see how much thicker those bands of white are. And that was just from having my white glass a little bit cooler than in the past. It's kind of cool how I got that funky X right in the middle too. All right, so that's going to go into the kiln. Yeah, so that's what goes into a leaf swizzle stick. They're not crazy complex, but I think that stringer wrap on there is a fun feature that makes them a little more unique and different. It makes them a little more technical too. So really appreciate you guys tuning in to watch. I managed to muster quite a few other different projects to do this week. I don't remember what tomorrow's is, but pretty much have something new every day to demo this week. I know last week I said there might be some repeats, but kind of figured out some other projects that would be good to document. So keep tuning in every day at 10. I'll be demonstrating, and yeah, we appreciate you guys' support. The icicle suncatcher earrings are on sale 30% off, so in case you looked right away, I think they're only like 10% off. And they are 30% off right now, and I think that goes through Wednesday. I think that's when we announce our new deal of the week. So yeah, if you're thinking about a pair of those, or thinking about something for Mother's Day for a good gift, those are an awesome scoop right now for a good deal. Clearance section is drastically reduced prices, and our local image fundraiser for artists, $5 for every local image pendant sold this month, goes to the Artist Relief Fund, so we can give back to other artists. So we appreciate you guys tuning in. Keep checking us out. Keep supporting small businesses. I know that Duluth Grill is opening back up for takeout, I think, this week. So yeah, keep supporting everyone that you can. We certainly appreciate it, and I hope you guys are staying safe. Thanks so much, and we'll see you tomorrow.